Welcome to the Marketing Intern Spotlight. A marketing intern is a listener who's spreading our message authentically. Hear their story, their passion, and their journey. Enjoy. You been on any podcast before?
I do the radio from time to time. Like, I'll do the Tommy games.
Okay.
Me and my homegirl, actually, we're both sub 30, almost so, like, very single. And we just talk relationships from people that are never in relationships.
Yeah.
So we're thinking about, like, starting a relationship podcast.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, that'd be really cool.
tight. It's just, like, dumb shit, right? Like, classic. For our last question, we was talking Friday. Our last question was, how do you ask your man, what are we? And she's like, well, we do this, and, all the girls take that shit seriously. So they were flooding our inbox like tough. And, like, I spoke for the fellas. It's like, yeah, stop asking that without a forewarning unless you don't want to answer you don't want. So we got pretty into it. It was tight.
No, I like that.
What were some of the answers? Because I need some of this help.
Well, all right. So here's my answer.
Yep.
And I'm not like a player or anything, but it's just like one of those things, when you're busy and you're trying to date, sometimes you get to a place you're like, whoa, how we get here, right? Or it's just like, you don't always know at every point. There's checkpoints, but between those checkpoints, you're kind of in a gray area. So for me, it was like, I hate when girls kind of blindside me with that question. Like, oh, what are we? It's like, oh, you want me to tell you now? It's like, yeah. I'm like, well, damn. First of all, like, fellas, we can't, like, say our thoughts that well.
Yeah.
Like,
15 seconds to process that?
Right, no. Exactly. It's crazy because, A, I didn't know what we were, and B, how do I say what I think we are without making it sound either worse or even better than it is, because that could get you in some trouble.
Yes.
So I'm like, how about this? You text me in the morning. Hey, I was just wondering because blah, blah, this and that. Just want to know, what you thought about us, where you think things are going. You ain't got to answer now. Let's talk later tonight. And I love that. I love that answer. Ladies like, hell no. If you got to ask, fuck that. Woo, woo, woo. I'm like, oh, shit. All right. Never mind then.
Yeah. Well, Andrew and I are getting into the dating life. To put it simply, we haven't been on very many dates with this podcast.
I feel you. I feel you guys, man. I know exactly what that's like.
But coming up here, Andrew and I are we just started Hinge accounts for the main reason of matching with someone to have them come on the podcast.
Oh, that's wild.
Yeah, so
and we each have to match with someone and then get a mutual date between the two girls for them to come on for the first. We're gonna meet them for the first time
on the podcast.
You guys don't actually expect to like have a future with these girls if you're doing it this way. This is solely entertainment person.
Keeping the expectations reasonable.
Yeah,
I wouldn't say no expectations, just reasonable.
Yeah, you just asked where we're at with these girls. We haven't even met them yet.
Yeah. we haven't even matched with them yet.
It's crazy. I just imagine like some girls coming here with some black dresses, think it's gonna be a real date, and then boom, 15 cameras, like
just whipping them.
No, we have them prepped.
Right. Okay. Prepped.
Listen to this. So, you know how Hinge works?
I mean, is it like the other dating
It's like Tinder kind of, but you have like questions that you can answer to give more insight about like who you are.
Yeah, some content.
So like a topic that I filled out was ideal first date, and mine was just record a podcast. So
just straight up.
So I've had like a couple girls respond and be like, "This is a great idea. Where do we start?" I was like, "Okay, this is easy. This is very nice." So now I was thinking, and I haven't told you this yet, but a roadblock would be, I match with a girl, she wants to come on and do an interview, and then you match with a girl. So basically convincing them that like they should come over together and then do a podcast where like they don't know each other, but we know them kind of.
That would be tight.
There's a little bit of a dynamic there, right?
That'd be tight.
So I have a solution or a potential proposed solution. I want to bounce this off you.
Okay.
So when my date comes over, we'll do maybe like same day, kind of like we're doing with Ayo and Float, or we split them up.
And the
I'll
first
produce
half is 30 minutes.
The first one is your date or my date, and you produce it when my date's on.
Yeah.
And then when your date comes over, I'll produce it.
Oh, damn.
And then we can do two different podcasts, release them on the same day, have it be like a bingeable type thing. And then like the listeners can, they'll obviously listen to both. And then they get to decide who crushed the date better.
Yeah.
I like that because it's like, hold on. I like that because it's like the ultimate icebreaker. You know what I hate about dating? It's like getting to know somebody for the first time sucks.
Yeah.
But then once you feel a little comfortable, because like I could tell you guys have eclectic personalities like me. And like if you meet me originally, I gotta hold that back because I'm not just gonna come out here like cussing, talking about football and Dragon Ball Z on day one, because not everybody would understand that. But once we get past that first level, like I'm a responsible dude. Like I have a decent job. Like I'm not some crazy dude that lives at home with his mom, because half of my hobbies are of dudes that live at home with their moms. Then it's like, all right, I can show you the real me. I can show you the true colors, right?
Yeah.
So
I like that. And, A podcast is literally just an undistracted conversation, which is what I love about doing this because, like, you know, this is the first time we're technically meeting you, right?
Yeah. We probably met at school when I came by before, right?
Oh, yeah. I mean, you were on campus all the time at games,
Yeah.
in the film room. Like, I mean, you were there.
You taught us how to roll out.
Roll out?
Yeah.
Oh, man, I hated that.
So I just did that
So
earlier
stupid.
this season, and I was just like thinking of what you kind of did, and I was just kind of reiterating kind of the way you walked through it. And I'm sitting up there like I barely roll out. Like I kind of know what to do, and I'm just like moving through something. I'm like, oh, that kind of like feels like I'm doing it right, and then I just vocalized it.
Yeah.
And everyone was buying in, and I'm just like,
No, I mean,
it's so funny.
Dude, you know what I hated about that? Because, like, that was, like, a weird era with, like, me and the program and Glenn. Because, like, I don't know. It's weird because, like, the young guys think that Glenn loved me at all times. Like, we were like this, and, like, we had our falling outs. Like, we didn't really get close until, like, after college. So, like, when he brought me back, and he's like, hey, I want you to do, like, a thing on rolling out. I'm like, well, I'm not really, like, a PT guy. Why would you ask me? Like, obviously, I rolled out a lot in college. I took care of my body. He probably saw that, but it's, like, two things are going through my head. I'm like, A, it's, like, I feel like I did a lot more than the program than just showing people how to roll out. Damn, like, why don't you want me to teach people, like, a move or something, right? Like, man, tell us the And then B, the second thing was, are these guys going to take that shit seriously, like, rolling out? Like, first of all, you guys, even though you're 5 years younger than me, I feel like as far as recovery has come, it's really just taken off. And you never see bands and, like, all that stuff you guys have in the locker room on that pole. Like, we had nothing there. Like, when I was playing, it was like, you know, you cracked your back, hit the squat rack, and then sat in the cold tub. Now you guys are, like, have the thumpers, rolling out. You guys will have personal ARP waves, like, all this stuff. So I'm like, why am I teaching these kids something they would know? And I didn't think you guys would be attentive for 30 whole minutes. I taught you how to roll out for 30 minutes.
30 minutes.
Like, that's the stupidest, like, in my head, it was. And I'm like, I wonder what, like, because I came from a different era of Glenn Caruso. So we were thinking, what Jedi mind trick was he trying to play on either you guys or me? I mean, you didn't ask questions. You were like, oh, yeah, sure, I'll come do it, coach. But it's just like, I wonder what he's trying to get out of this. I remember when y'all lost after I graduated. Are we live?
We're live.
Yeah.
Oh, snap. What's up, America? I thought we were still talking.
We're good. We're kicking it.
What was I saying?
You were talking about how when we lost, you kind of had a reaction of
Yeah, you just said when we lost. And I was
Because,
like, we
like,
lost
you
a lot.
hyped it up.
No, because it was you guys lost and didn't go to the playoffs. Or I think you lost to St. John's when we kicked them field goals. Who was the quarterback? Was it O'Connell still?
Yeah,
Our
It was at
senior-
home.
and we missed a field goal.
Yeah.
Okay, wait.
So we had just come off basically beating them 5 years in a row. The first 2 years we lost
Yes.
in double overtime. So we thought we were, like, personnel wise way better than St. John's. Should never lose that game anymore. And then B, we were just like, the program is only getting better. So I remember there was like a group chat. I'm not gonna say who said it, but there was a group chat. Some older guys like, you guys think Glenn lost on purpose? And I'm like, I mean, I wouldn't put it past him. He's one of the smartest dudes on earth. Like, maybe, like, he's that good at coaching. He threw a game, and then he wanted the guys to play harder later on. We come and beat 9-1 and win a national championship.
Yeah, reinstill culture.
Right.
Have a chip on your shoulder.
Right,
Because that's
exactly.
the best St. Thomas teams is when they had a chip on their shoulder.
Well, that's all he did in practice too. He was trying to create adversity, like manufacture adversity left and right. So I'm like, nah, he wouldn't do this on no Saturday though. That's like a Monday through Friday thing. And then we all sat there for like a second. We're like, would he? Because you can't put it past him. Like them psychology guys are so different. Like him and Coach Tower, which I'm glad y'all had him on the podcast. I saw that. I had to watch that. Coach Tower is my dog. I love that dude.
He was
amazing.
We had the best hour sitting with him. It went by so fast and it fired us up.
You guys got cheated. That should have been like a 5-hour podcast.
It could have been.
Because he is so smart. He's such a people person, and he's a different brand of successful too, which is interesting. Because like, I remember I met Coach Tower a few times on campus. Like, I like basketball players. A lot of the basketball players at St. Thomas grew up in the city, so like I knew them from around growing up. And excuse me, football players were like, there was a lot of Totino Grace kids and a lot of like Northern Minnesota kids. Like schools graduated with like 100 people listening to Chicken Fried and Dirks Bentley, right? So as you can tell, like I grew up in St. Paul, East Side St. Paul, North St. Paul, Oakdale. Moved to Woodbury for like 2 years, but for the most part, more of an urban upbringing. So like I hung out with the basketball players, ran into Coach Tower a few times, and I'm all right. This is a good guy. So I started talking to him more. I started working his camps for while I was in college.
Yeah.
And the first time I figured out, because I knew he was super successful, like all the other guys, like basically meeting Caruso and knowing that to be good at something, I feel like you have to be addicted to it like Caruso is, right? Basically, eat, sleeps, drinks, same time as football. And remind me, sleep. Remember that. Caruso and sleep. Remind me that for later because there's another story.
All right.
I'm thinking like that's the only way to be successful in this world. Like I can't like talk my way through life, or not even talk my way through life, but like emotional intelligence isn't as important as just working your butt off all the time. And then I remember I met Coach Tower, and he might hate this, but he might love this too. He's a very cerebral guy. When you talk to him, he'll basically undress you mentally without you even knowing it. And I was working this basketball camp. He goes, Ayo, gives me his keys. He's like, hey, I left something at my house in the basement, some T-shirts for the kids. Can you go grab them? I'm like, all right, yeah, for sure. So I, go ahead, drive to his house. And then I go in his house and whatever, I go to the basement. I'm like, hold on. I'm in Coach Tower's house by myself, unattended. Like, I got to snoop around. Like, you know what I'm saying? You can't just be in his crib and just like, and walk in and walk out, lock it, make sure, the security's on the leave. So I'm just going around, okay, pretty regular guy house, no like secret laboratory in the basement. Like, that one bookshelf in
you pull it?
in the cartoons, you pull it and the thing turns around. I was looking for something like that, but that didn't happen. So I go up to his room. And I'm sorry, Coach, I got to tell this story.
Yeah, wait, you went into his room?
Of course.
Okay.
Why wouldn't you?
And that's on the
second
floor.
No, be honest, though. Y'all talking like you do the same thing, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't know. So I'm putting my shoes in Coach Caruso. I'm going into Glenn's house, and I'm the only one in there. Am I going into his room, or does he have some type of
He does.
Yeah, you're right. He might.
He's got his room
booby
trap.
Hell yeah. Oh, man, I'm knocking this microphone out.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. To be fair, let me step back because I know Coach Tower's going to see this. I didn't go into his room. I just went upstairs, right?
Okay. Sure.
And his room was open.
Yep.
So I looked in, and then I poked my head in, and before I'm in his room. Okay. So I was I was in there, and I'm like, he's got like a bed. God, I feel like I shouldn't say this, but whatever, Coach Tower. I love you, John. I went into his room. There's like no headboard, which as a kid I'm thinking like the difference between like my parents' room and our rooms and like college kids' rooms and grown people room is a headboard. Mm-hmm. I'm like, there's no headboard. This is like just a bed. It's made, but it's just a bed. I'm like, okay, weird. And then he's got like clothes on the floor, little unorganized. And I'm like, I think I'm in love. Like,
yeah,
I found like somebody who is super good at what he does, super successful, whether it's in sports, whether it's in psychology, and another and dishes in the sink too. That's another thing that threw me off because how they say like, oh, successful people make their bed every morning. No, Coach Tower don't make his bed. Successful people hang up their clothes, don't leave clothes, and they're like, nope, Coach Tower, he's got a clean clothes pile, dirty clothes pile, and like I might wear this again for another workout because I didn't sweat too much. And I'm just sitting here like looking in the house like this is a regular guy with a talented regular guy and passionate, but like. Basically, he didn't read any of the self-help books that everybody else reads. You know what I mean? Yeah. You know them self-help books are like, make your bed every morning. Make sure you wake up at 5:30 in the morning. Do some yoga.
Meditate. Drink water.
Don't do to-do lists. It's all about separate time blocking and like stuff like that. And like Coach Tower's like, no, there's other ways to make it, and it's his way. So that was one of the first times I really started clinging to Coach Tower. And I text him all the time. We'll have psychology conversations like randomly. So. I consider myself an amateur psychologist. Essentially, like I can break down a situation, but I have no idea what the technical terms of what I just did. But Coach Tower put all those like big words and big jargon into it. Mm-hmm. And Coach Tower is I think he gets annoyed at me sometimes because like every time something happens in my life, like I'll text him, I'm like, yo, like why don't girls like me or some stuff like that. Sure. And we'll talk for a little bit, be like, all right, we'll see you later. Yeah, but what about this? And like we'll just end up like talking for. I remember one time I ran into him at Lifetime. And we was chilling at Lifetime, and I think he was like 10 minutes into the workout. He's like, yeah, I got to pick up my son in about 45 minutes, but what's going on? 45 minutes later, we're still talking. He's like, all right, now I got to go, and I didn't get a workout. Thank you very much, Al. And so it's just one of the things where it's Coach Tower is my only white role model. Got a lot of role models in life of people I know, mentors. How about not role models, mentors? Sure. Got a lot of mentors in life. And Coach Tower, I even tell him it's like he's my only white mentor.
Right.
That's
on.
awesome.
You mentioned kind of how you saw Coach Tower and you realized you didn't need to be obsessive over something to become elite, to become the best. And that's kind of how you looked at Coach Caruso. using those both perspectives and kind of morphing it into line of scrimmage and your life after football, if you want to get into that a little bit as well. But how were you able to take both of those perspectives and then create your own kind of persona as a leader?
Well, before, I'm not going to say not obsessive, because I think you still have to have some sort of level of obsession to be good at something, especially something that a lot of people do. Like, you can't just, like, kind of like well, there's some people that can, but you can't just, like, kind of like football and be a Hall of Famer someday. I still think there's some obsession that needs to happen, but I'm just saying to be known as, like, a regimented person. Like, I think Coach Tower is somewhat regimented, but I don't think his whole life is scripted. Like, I feel like if I walk into Coach Caruso's room, like, it looks like the first time walking into the Ritz-Carlton. Like, the sheets are all tucked under. You couldn't pull them over if you want to. Probably a chocolate on his pillow, right? He cleans the shower after every time he leaves, and it's just, like, spotless. It looks like a model home in a new development neighborhood. And that's what I would think of Coach, just because, like, if you ever walked into his office, it's always clean.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
If you ever walked into Coach Tower's office, it's a little cluttered, right? But I think there's just like two forms of genius.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
So that's why I wanted to say that first. I wasn't
Okay.
saying that he just wasn't obsessive, because he's definitely obsessive about what he does.
That makes sense. That makes sense.
Yeah, and I just like the idea that there is a dynamic there that exists, because when Tower came over and, you know, we're talking football and Caruso and their dynamic between each other.
Yeah.
He was saying, like,
Oh, yeah.
he's like, Glenn, I can never do what you do, man. Like,
yeah.
don't you ever think that you could just, like, he's like, I'll let the point guard make a couple decisions, like, let him play the game and stuff. He's like, Glenn, I don't know if you could do that. Like, I don't know if you could just let
Yeah.
him take control of the court. And, like,
Man.
that's why he's, like, a basketball coach. That's why St. Thomas runs the offense that they do. Like, and he was backing it all up, right? He's like, yeah, I let these guys shoot more threes this year, and this is the most we've ever shot threes. And
Yeah.
he's just going through all the strategy. I'm like, wow, this is crazy. Like, there's such a different dynamic there.
Yeah.
That's very obvious, but it works, to your point.
No, it does work, and it's a different kind of work. Their relationship is interesting to me, because they are so polar opposites.
Yeah.
But they are cool as hell. I remember when I was a junior, I was working one of his camps, and Coach Tower was telling me about, like, when I tell y'all about, like, when Caruso first came on campus, he was so, like, business. You know, like, if we come late from a class on South Campus, he'd be like, there's no excuse to be late for class on South Campus. I walk there every day, and it takes me 4.5 minutes exactly on it, or like 4 minutes and 15 seconds. I count. I'm like, damn, that's crazy that you counted that. And second of all, like, you know how fast you got to walk? Because, like, I'm a talkative person, so, you know, I skip through, shake hands, you know, hug girls, whatever it is.
Kiss and
I'm
babies.
making like 35 minutes from South Campus to North Campus. But Coach Tower, it was a summer, and he was telling me about, like, yeah, Caruso came over last night. We started playing MVP baseball. It's like some old baseball game from, like, Super Nintendo. And Caruso's like, yeah, I used to play this in college all the time, like back in the 80s, when, you know, or not, I think early 90s. And Caruso's like, yeah, I'm undefeated, never lost. And, like, I like LeVar Ball or whatever, undefeated, never lost.
Sure,
and, like,
sure.
of course, like, to the Coach Caruso we knew at the time, like, of course he never lost. Of course he's the best at that video game, because the way he runs his life. Like, we play video games for fun. He plays video games to be better than Ninja, right? So Coach Tower tells me how, like, he's going back and forth with Glenn for, like, 5 hours, which is, like, to me at that time, Glenn planned his whole life as far as we were concerned. We never saw Glenn be, like, personified like he wasn't a human. Like, oh, wait, Glenn gets caught up in video games for 5 hours with a buddy? Like,
Yeah.
I didn't see that happen. Like, this dude
Right.
naps for 7 minutes and, like, looks at his clock like, all right, 3, 2, 1, goes to sleep, and then wakes right back up. Like, there's actually stories about that too.
That's crazy. But you know what's funny is, like, what you're bringing up too is kind of what Andrew and I are trying to attack with this podcast a little bit, is, like, bring on these big people, leaders, things that you see that in, like, these people in the world that you, like, put on a pedestal, right? These Towers, Carusos, all these different people that you look highly upon, but then bring out things in them that are relatable, and you realize that they blow their nose just like you do,
Right.
and they play 5 hours of video games just like you do. Like, there are certain little things that when you find that out, it's not that you look at them differently, but you are almost more comfortable. You're like, oh,
Right,
oh,
yeah.
that's kind of cool. Like, that's
Exactly.
awesome. Like, when I found out, like, I'm a big football guy. I love football guys like Gruden and Les Miles, all these different people. And we're going into junior year camp, spring camp, and Caruso is talking about how he's been getting ready for the first day of practice. And he's like, in the last couple years, you know, first day of practice, by the time I get to third day, like, I lose my voice. So this year, I got a little better. This year, I started screaming in my pillow for 5 minutes before bed every single night. I was like, that's the best thing that I've ever heard in my life.
Right.
Glenn Caruso screaming
Right.
as loud as he can into his pillow for 5 minutes so that he doesn't lose his voice for the first day of camp.
When you talk about preparation, there's not many people on this earth. And I can say that I've met enough people on this earth to know there's not many people on this earth more prepared for anything than Glenn Caruso. Like, he could be in the elevator and it could stop. And he would know exactly where to exit just because he's played that scenario in his head so many times. Probably went on Google one night just in case I get stuck in the elevator, what should I do? I remember he would tell me when he was a GA, and these are stories when I was thinking about getting into coaching. When he was a GA, he basically had a book like this thick, a book of stuff that if he were to run his own program, he would do this. And then basically that after years and before he got a head coach job, he's like, all right, so now I'm going back into this book because like coach makes a bad call. I'm never making that call. Or, I like what coach blah, blah, blah did. I'm going to do that. And basically, and then on top of that, he takes notes after every practice. I don't think you guys know this. So he does practice notes. Did he ever let you guys know about that?
I know he's always got his little purple pen and he's writing on that practice sheet.
Yeah, he did I don't know if y'all old enough, but Doug, the show Doug Funny. Y'all don't remember that?
Nope, it's over my head.
Whatever. Doug, it was an old Nickelodeon show, and he was like, oh, Dear Diary, and whatever. He just talked about the day.
Gotcha.
And Glenn would Dear Diary every practice, which is wild to me because, like, all that adrenaline from the whole day. Football is more of a doing sport rather than a preparing. Well, not preparing, but, like, reflecting, and, writing, like, not novels, but
damn near close.
Yeah, writing some sort of memoir to yourself. He made sure he did that every single day. And then he would reference it like, I don't know if you remember this, but your freshman year, 7th practice of camp, you did blah, blah, blah. I'm like, what? I did, huh? Like, I don't even remember that. I kind of remember, but how do you remember the practice? Oh, no, I take notes all the time. I remember exactly. This is where we start to lull, so I make sure this practice we made it easy. And I'm like, okay, that preparation is ridiculous. And that's kind of why I didn't think Glenn was human. I thought he was a cyborg when I was in college because he was just like, damn.
So your first year at St. Thomas was what?
2009.
2009.
Fall.
Okay,
Fall.
So that was Coach Caruso's second year.
Second year, yeah.
Okay, so I want to know, because Andrew and I, our first year was 2014. So by that time, we had already gone to a national title. We had guys like you play. We had like Tommy Becker, all these different quote-unquote legends who were talked to us and put on this pedestal since day one. Like, we had an established legacy of St. Thomas football by the time we showed up.
Yeah.
What was it like showing up the first day in 2009 with Glenn Caruso in his second year at St. Thomas?
That's a good question. And honestly, we'd have to do like a 5-part series on a podcast to talk about that because
it's a good idea.
Like, I'm a St. Paul kid. I knew about St. Thomas. I didn't know a whole lot. I knew, like, they had some cute little football team. Basketball was decent, but that's like and if I could just keep it blunt, that's like where the white kids played after high school.
Sure.
They couldn't play, at a high level. So I was actually committed. I had a few walk-on offers to like some bigger D1 schools during the recession. Couldn't afford to like just pay for school straight up. So I had to take one of my scholarships. So I narrowed down a few of my D2 scholarships, Concordia. And I was committed Concordia last minute. Basically, my family cornered me, and Caruso played a Jedi mind trick on me, I think, in recruiting. And basically got me to decommit, and I ended up going to St. Thomas. So I get on campus, I'm thinking like, all right, Michigan State wanted me, you know what I'm saying? South Dakota State, Northern Illinois, like, man, whatever. Like, this is going to be cool. I just go out there. Like, I love working hard, so I didn't get, like, lazy or anything. But I'm like, all right, first day, just go out there, get 59 sacks, and let's just call it a career, right? So we get there, and campus is ugly. The weight room is worse than my high school weight room. The locker room look like this. Like,
not knocking this.
No disrespect to y'all, but it's just like there's like pipes everywhere. You can see like the asbestos in the ceiling, and just like roaches. Just like hey, turn the light off. That's the roaches talking, by the way. And I'm like, if that speaks about what this program is about, like all the visits I went on, all the nice places I've been, like this is gonna be a walk in the park. So I get there, and we got some ball players. We got Josh Ostru, who's a dog, and he transfers from St. Cloud State, but he's got the body of a Division I football player, 6'4", 305, and he moves well. We got guys like Fritz, and Fritz was cold. Like, I didn't really know Fritz in high school, but I heard about him. And I didn't know this is where he went. I assumed he went to an Ivy League or like a Division I AA. So I'm seeing Fritz out there. I'm like, oh, damn, okay, Fritz is nice. I'm seeing Tommy Becker and like, yo, when I tell you, I got stories about Tommy for like
mean
days.
dude.
Yeah, Tommy's just like, he was a little out of shape my freshman year, and he'll be the first one to say this too.
Because he came from the U of M.
Yeah, he was like 265,
That's right.
and like big dumbass forearms, tatted everywhere, and I kind of gravitated towards Tommy a little bit because he wasn't like the rest of St. Thomas kid. Like he was a Maple Grove kid, but he had a little bit of edge on him. So like, you know what I'm saying, he listened to Gorilla Zoe, be wearing like Jordans. I'm like, all right, yeah, no, I mess with Tommy. He's cool.
Quick story about Tommy Becker. I went to Italy with him, and he suited up against the Italians.
Oh my god.
And he played middle linebacker and then on kickoff, and he was right in front of me on kickoff, and I just let him go. Like I ran right behind him, and he ran through someone, and then I think maybe ran through another person making the tackle, and I'm just sitting there just like bouncing off him. I'm a good 6 years younger than him out on the field and just having a blast.
Yo, and that's funny because that's like in shape, health, and body conscious Tommy Becker.
Yeah.
I'm talking like Tommy Becker. Reckless abandonment, no regard for life, horrible temper manners, just like that type of guy.
Okay.
So I remember I went on a visit St. Thomas, and like Brady Irvin was there too. Brady the Body. I don't know if you heard about him. 6'2", like just built. Like I'm like, damn, this was
he's
St.
beautiful
Thomas
for the record.
Brady's sexy. I love Brady.
Yep.
What's up, Brady? I get on campus and we go to the spring game, and you know it's Brady making plays everywhere. I'm like, okay, Josh Alstrew, Fritz, and then Tommy Becker would just like. He had and this is before where you couldn't wear visors that were colored. He had just like the dark LaDainian Tomlinson visor, tattoos. He had wristbands everywhere. Calves was like the size of like two basketballs. That's what it looked like. He had like I said, tatted everywhere, big arms, everything, and he's just going out there like ISO. He's taking out the fullback, the guard, and the running back at the same time, like just one hit. So me and Ross Bailey, and Ross went to Woodbury with me. We both committed St. Thomas, and we became friends that year, and we just make jokes because, like, damn, I'm afraid of Tommy Becker. Like, I don't want to drink with him. Like, Tommy invited us after the spring game. He was like, hey, we having a party later. You guys want to come? I'm like, yeah, we'll come. And then we talked about it in the car. We're like, hey, man, I don't think it's a good idea if we party with that guy. Like, I don't think we're going to make it out of here alive. So we make, like, Tommy Becker jokes all the time. I forgot who it was. It was, like, back when the Vikings were good. Like, yeah, I don't know if anyone can stop the Vikings. And then, like, we're also whispering in class to be like, I think Tommy Becker could stop that. We made Chuck Norris jokes about Tommy Becker for like 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
Damn, that's so cool. That's wild.
Those are some boys. That's awesome.
So did you travel and play freshman year?
Yeah, so it's weird. I technically started. We had a 6D line rotation. So like it'd be like a different start every game, but it was basically like 6 or 5 of us, and we go 3 plays a pop. So yeah. In other words, I did start. I didn't take all the reps, but I did start.
Okay, and then 2009 was the first winning season for Coach?
No, I think it was the year before I got there, but
Okay.
2009 was the first year we went to the playoffs.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Nice.
So we were 9-1. We lost to St. John's, which they were trash that year. I'm sorry, they weren't. No, they was trash. They was trash.
They were trash.
They weren't that good, and we lost to them, which St. John's, there is something about their magic because we never play as well as we should. But we went up there, lost in double overtime. My boy Steve Johnson, shout out Steve, got pitch to the end zone, took it like 15 yards. And it's just like picture of me crying on all fours because I can't stand St. John's. Like I hated St. John's before I knew what Division III football was.
Damn.
Yeah.
Wow.
My old high school coach was like a legend up there. He's like all time. He just made the Division III all-decade team actually for 2 decades, which is wild, right? And all he did is talk about St. John's in high school. And me and him didn't have the best relationship at the time either. So like anything St. John's, I just wanted nothing about.
Yeah, I can imagine.
So you're talking about how you came into St. Thomas and you realized you were probably a better athlete than the majority of the people there, if not all.
No, that's what I was thinking.
Exactly. That's what you were thinking early. Yeah. And then you're moving through after your freshman year, your sophomore year, getting through the program.
Not even that. I'm talking about practice. So like, when we talk about the MAG was pretty ass. Like, there's a reason we getting kicked out, right? But practice was tough for me. Like, dudes were holding me. Now, I don't mean like holding like literal like the holding penalty. Like holding like in basketball, and I'm going to give you guys a little like inner city lingo. Like when you play basketball, yeah, you can't hold me. That means you can't guard me. You can't stop me, whatever, right? So dudes were like holding me, and like they were holding like the mess out of me. Like I couldn't really make stuff happen. I'm like, man, I thought this was Division III. Like these boys can play. Like I thought Division III was like, a glorified high school.
Yeah.
Then we get out to the first game, we play McAllister. I'm like, oh no, that's just us. We just won by 70. Fritz scored 47 touchdowns. Wortman ran for 1,000 yards. Like legend has it, he's still running on McAllister's field to this day.
There you
to
go.
this day.
That's awesome. Do you think what I really like about asking like older guys like you about the
older
program.
guys.
Oh, dude, you're
Damn.
like 5-6 years older than us, but you're young. You're a young look though.
Damn.
You look great.
You look young.
Boy,
dude.
you look good.
God, you look great. And now you got the
Appreciate it.
football in your hand too. Like this
It's
is
the only
this
way.
is kind of a Nirvana moment for you, and I want to say that for you.
I
I'll put
appreciate
those
that,
words
man.
in your mouth. But I always like kind of unpacking that because, and Caruso talks about all the time, is like the legacy aspect.
Mm-hmm.
And now, I mean, this is so cool that we got the big news that like St. Thomas is going D1.
Yeah.
Which is like crazy to think about as a couple D3 football players that, we're going to be saying it to everybody that we play D1.
Course, yeah.
That's
yeah,
easy.
Of course.
That's a guarantee.
It's a must.
That's guaranteed. So, like, I guess it's good to just unpack, like, hey, where'd you come from to get to this point? Like,
Yeah.
we were smoking people back in 2009 when it was, the MIAC back then. Now look at us today. I mean,
Okay.
granted, we did lose to Eau Claire, and there's some blurred lines within the whole system, but, like,
Yeah.
what do you think about where we're going now and how our legacy affects that?
I think we're only 5 years apart. We probably missed each other by a season,
Mm-hmm.
but I feel like y'all's experience at St. Thomas, excuse me, was different than mine.
Oh,
Big
yeah.
time.
Oh, yeah.
Not only did we like come from like a lower place, not a lower place, but we had to deal with a few things. A, facilities, we didn't have that. B, support on campus, we didn't have that. We go to parties and people are like, you guys think you're so sick, you're not. Like, get out of here, bro. Like stuff like that. Right, it was just crazy.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like when I got later on, people actually liked us. Like, oh man, the football teams come on, they come to kick it with us. Athletes, we still had like an older class of guys that Caruso didn't recruit that were not amazing athletes, not super mentally strong, and then Caruso was trying to push those guys out. Same thing with Wally. So I experienced like a different Wally than you guys, where it's like I feel like by the time I was a senior, we coached the younger guys, and then the younger guys from then on would be the older guys, and then coach the next group.
Mm-hmm.
But this was tough coaching from these guys day one. Like, they came out screaming. Like, if you ever imagine, like, Hard Knocks in the first day of camp, like, the coach always walks in like, hey, guys, how you doing? I'm a coach. We're going to have fun. We're going to work hard. Like, I just remember, like, walking to Wally's first meeting. It's like, if you guys think, whoa, 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 blah, 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 this and that. It's like, damn, y'all screaming on the barbecue? Like, we haven't even started practice yet. You know when we just grilled? They just screaming already, and everybody's yelling. Everyone's like, yeah, don't mess with them. I'm like, I don't know if I like this college football thing, man. Like, this is nuts. Like, I want to laugh. Like, where's the player and team skits where you make fun of guys? Like,
Right.
we were worked. I remember my first game where I just figured out, like, oh wow, we actually play for a good program now. First game my sophomore year after we did the playoff run and we were all over the news and whatnot. Sophomore year we get out there, we're playing River Falls. I'm like, oh, here comes another Tommy game, whatever. Like, let's just, let's play hard, but let's get to the playoffs, fellas. We get out there. We got the new stadium, the new Anderson, and the stadium's packed for the first time I ever saw it. You guys probably had a packed stadium every time you played.
Majority. Yep.
When I was a freshman, it was just like friends and family and Gene McGivern. Like, that was it. It was like 13 people out there. And, like, you can hear, like, run the ball. And it's like, that's Fritz's mom. Like, you could hear, like, hey, Fritz's mom, what's going on? But we got out there. It's like, wow, we actually have, like, fans. Like, people that we don't know are at this game. People we don't know are coming to see us. People, like, one of the kids take pictures with us. Like, not on a ridiculous, like, Gopher scale, but it was like, wow, like, this has changed. Like, I saw that change in a year.
Wow.
Now we're in a locker room that's like, we actually want to put, I mean, we didn't have Snapchat back then, but we actually want to put our locker room on Snapchat.
Yeah. Oh,
We didn't have those, like, old school, like, see-through YMCA lockers from, what's an old football movie?
Yeah. Remember the Titans.
Oh, yeah. Remember the Titans. Yeah, that's real old.
There we go.
You know what I mean? We didn't have, like, we wore Russell. That's a big, that's a big.
That's all you got to say.
Right. That's a microcosm of what our program came from and what is now. Like, y'all got the sexiest purple jerseys now. We had these ugly Russell jerseys.
Yeah, those Russell jerseys were our practice uniforms our freshman year, maybe our sophomore year. No,
just freshman.
Just freshman year. Then our sophomore year, we got the secondary Nike ones by that time.
Which says a lot.
Yeah.
We used to fight over practice pants because, like, some pants, like, oh, these are decent practice pants I get through. Other pants look like Negro League baseball pants. They were just, like, mad baggy. And then you always,
a great way to describe
you getting it right. Like, when you think of, like, the old Babe Ruth pictures.
Yeah.
And he's got his stuff rolled up.
Yeah, you might as well be smoking cigarettes.
Yeah, right, exactly. We had Joe Namath's practice pants in jock strap. So, like, I just look and it was like, dang, like, it's cool to know that we were a part of that. But it's crazy for that reason. I feel like I had a different college experience, even though we probably had the same coaching staff. Like, that coaching staff didn't really change like 3-4 years ago.
Yeah.
But we probably have, for the most part, the same coaches, the same guys.
Oh, yeah.
It was just a completely different experience.
Oh, yeah. Totally agree, and that's kind of the coolest part, right? Like I think we were like the last class that experienced some like really punch in the mouth failure, like our freshman year, like lost to St. John's at home, barely make the playoffs.
We also lost to Bethel.
And lost to Bethel that year.
Bethel,
I mean, like we went through kind of the ringer.
Yeah.
And then lost to Wartburg in the playoffs.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then we come back sophomore year, and it's like everyone's got a chip on their shoulder. No one knows who's really going to be starting, especially on the defensive side. And then that was the year we go to the national title. And then basically since then, we continued that swagger. And I would say it still probably exists somewhat to this day.
Yeah.
Where you're looking at a class that was at the class behind us, or the class that graduated in 2019. Those guys had no idea about like losing to like other teams.
Right.
We just steamrolled everybody.
Well, like that class y'all talk about, like the class with who am I thinking of?
Sean Hamlin.
No,
ahead of us.
even older than
older. Okay.
Yeah, so like Tremaine and those guys.
Yeah.
Those guys. So I lost one game, and that was my freshman year, and I didn't lose again. Basically.
Wow.
So like those guys were kind of a product of coming to the new Anderson Student Center, having a D3 program with like D1. Like it smelled D1, right? The way we practiced, the way everything, it was business. Like we had the money. We weren't traveling on yellow school buses anymore. We had coach buses now, right?
Yeah.
So they came into a program kind of like I assume that you guys somewhat came into, where it's just like everything's good, and they had to take that lump. I feel like that season was good for the program because it was the first time people took a lump, because we took an unwarranted lump early on.
For sure.
Yeah.
And now we're transforming into we have 1 more or 2 more years of
MIAC football. And then after that, we're going D1, but we don't really know what conference. I think regardless.
If.
That's true. We could not get accepted and go D2.
No,
right?
or they could just not
D3.
be football.
They could bag football.
That's a very, like, I don't think
You
people
think
realize that. I don't think it will happen.
But it's a chance.
But, like, when you think about money, like, people don't realize college sports, the only people that make money are, like, a few, like, half the Power 5 teams. Everybody else is all come from donors, and it's losing money. It's just good for the morale of the school. There's going to be some big decisions that have to be made, right?
Yeah.
If football's an expensive program to keep, and I read somewhere it's like you got to decide between football or hockey, and it's like, even though our hockey program isn't as great as we are, it's still hockey in Minnesota.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like, they go D1 day one, they're going to be profitable. They're going to play in the WCHA, and they're going to get a bunch of transfers that want to stay home that aren't good enough to go to the U. Not everybody wants to go to school. If you're from Edina, you don't want to go to school in Bemidji. You don't want to go to school in Mankato.
Or
you don't want to
Fargo.
go to St. Cloud. You know what I mean?
Well, that's why I think we have a distinct advantage.
Right.
Not only are we like in St. Paul on a beautiful campus.
Yeah.
We have like, I mean, a lot of hot girls for sure, but like like a
except for the ones that curved me, they were ugly.
Sure.
They were all ugly.
Yeah, we gotcha. But you
That's
see what I'm getting
way
at,
to
like
put it, because I've always looked at all those like intangibles correlating to why football is going to win.
Mm-hmm.
But that can correlate to why hockey should win as well. Mm-hmm. And when it comes down to you're entering into potentially the Summit League, which doesn't have either of those sports, and you need to decide between one, and you're in a state of hockey.
If that's what needs to happen.
Right.
People don't realize now that we D1, now that we're about to be D1, we're not going to look at it the same way. It's not going to be like football's a tradition. That's cute. We got a bottom line to meet. You know what I mean? And like you guys say, Julie Sullivan's business. Phil Aston, I've talked to a few times. He's business. And like I said, if you got to make some decisions, I wouldn't be personally. I'm not saying anything that I've heard, because I have heard some things, but this is not off of what I heard. I think people just need to realize that we might not have some sports anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. It's very viable that it might be football. I mean, we're in Minnesota, so.
Yeah, I don't know. It's tough to make it. It makes sense to make the argument, but at the same time, it's just like how could you eliminate the one sport, I would argue, that is just like has been at the epitome of a lot of tradition at St. Thomas.
And it's so funny you say that, because I was just thinking about that's just not the case. Like when everybody was talking about the St. Thomas getting kicked out the MIAC, with all due respect, by the way, when St. Thomas everyone was talking about us getting kicked out the MIAC, I'm like, damn, we were so bad at football, like before Glenn got there, for the most part.
Oh yeah.
But when we look at track, I ran track for a little bit. We won like 35 straight conference titles.
Mm-hmm.
Volleyball
still winning.
Mm-hmm. Baseball had like 10, 3 national titles.
Swimming, softball.
Who's the softball coach? What's his name again? I forget his name all the time.
Chia.
Cheetah. Yeah, Cheetah. Great dude.
Mm-hmm.
Cheetah, like, Joe Mauer texts Cheetah like weekly for advice on how to swing.
Mm-hmm.
Like, football was not a big deal at St. Thomas. And
No.
I feel like it's funny people want to kick us out of the MIAC for 10 years of success in football, when like y'all should have been kicked us out because like our women's basketball team beat somebody 100-0. Like, you know what I mean? Like that should be the reason we got kicked out, not because of the football team. Like we're not even. I mean, we're good. We ain't got a title, and we've gotten a few losses. Like St. John's was way more successful football wise. So that's why it was weird because like I was the one fighting that it wasn't a football decision. But it sounds like now that was the main reason was that game that's on your shirt right now, which
is crazy. 97-0, and then there was an 84-0 against Hamlin. And those are the quotes in every article mention those two games. And it's like, yeah, I get it. Like, we beat up on those teams. St. John's does similar things.
Mount Union does that all the time.
Mount Union does all that. But it goes back to your point. We never capitalized and won a national championship. Granted, we were beaten up on teams that we should have won. We never won a national championship. So why are you removing us from a division that we can't even win the title in, and you're putting our sport on that pedestal?
For sure, yeah. And
it was weird the whole time going through that process.
And like you guys say, like you guys came to a program where you think football was legendary, and it just like for us it wasn't. Like it was the basketball team. The basketball guys, they had the real strong alumni connection. They got all the girls. They had the best parties.
Yeah, like, the treehouse. I lived there.
The treehouse
wasn't it? No, it was
the barn.
Yeah, the barn. Sorry.
Yeah, the barn.
Sorry.
Yeah. Shout out to the barn, by the way. Some good times.
Some good times.
But it was basketball. It was softball, baseball.
Yeah.
The other sports with actual pro athletes, and it wasn't football. So,
do you think logistically, the move is, or I guess for like if we were to play it through D1, like do we have to get like a bigger stadium and all that stuff too? Like, I mean, are there like a lot more roadblocks?
Probably. It would make sense. I mean, I just see us like the stars are aligning. We got Allianz Field a mile away.
That's what we were saying.
I see that being a thing.
Yeah.
We'll see how the game goes in 2 weeks.
Yeah. It's going to be nuts. But I guess transition a little bit more to you, man. Like line of scrimmage, that's really how we found you.
Okay.
And you know what's funny is so we were trying to get you on for a while.
Yeah.
And
My
you know,
bad.
no, not your fault at all.
I just want to big time y'all like 3 times to let y'all know.
I
use my time.
Yeah, and then you're like, you directed us to a couple different accounts. Like, hey, no, reach out to me. And then
we're like, oh, we get actual Ayo's account now. This is great.
I got to talk to my publicist first.
There you go. No, but it was funny is so we were talking to Jordan Roberts, who's like one of our really good friends, and he was telling us, he was like, yeah, I don't even think Ayo knows you guys played football.
What was this? Because I knew once I found out the podcast that you guys played. I didn't know who you guys were personally. Which no disrespect, like
you're not gonna know a
there's
couple.
A lot of dudes.
We don't look like
St. Thomas.
Yeah.
Come
on. We look like the rest of them.
It's a lot of white dudes. With great eyes and good strong jaw lines that look like you guys, right?
Oh yeah.
Hell yeah.
But actually, the way I found out about you guys was through Rosie. I never played with Rosie, but that's my man, 50 grand. Like, that's my dog, right?
Yeah.
And he just reposted something on Facebook. I'm like, oh, Rosie's on the podcast. I commented. I'm like, yeah, bet. Boom, 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 whatever. Like, that was tight. Then I watched the whole podcast. I didn't watch the whole podcast yet. Then I saw you guys had someone else on. I think it was like.
Might have been Jesse or.
Yeah, it was Jesse.
Okay.
Or no, it was Julie Sullivan, maybe. Or Jesse, whatever. Whoever it was, I saw you guys say, I like that you like the cognac, by the way.
Yeah, it's very
We got to bring a cigar up here next time.
Mm-hmm.
But I saw that you had him. I'm like, who are these guys? So I texted her. I'm like, hey, Rosie, what podcast were you on? Like, who were those guys? Blah, blah, this and that. I'm like, yeah, these guys from St. Thomas, real good dudes. Like, and when Rosie gives you guys the thumbs up, I'm like, all right, they some cool dudes. And they actually kind of told me about your guys' story, what made me like you even better. Because I was in that St. Thomas circle where it's just like, everybody wants to work at Ecolab and Ernst & Young someday, but people don't want to kind of step out their circle and do something, not of substance, but something that's just different, right? So when he told me the story about you guys, like, yeah, these guys on the team, and they started this podcast a while ago, and like people would like make fun of them and stuff and say they were stupid and it was dumb, but like look at them now, blah, blah. I'm like, I love that story, and I gotta hop on. Like, it's not like I'm getting podcast requests left and right, but if I was, y'all definitely would have been at the top of the list.
Appreciate that. That's awesome. Yeah, Rosie.
That's awesome.
You see that fumble?
Yeah.
Grab that real quick.
High and tight.
So shout out Rosie, by the way.
Shout out Rosie. Yeah, he's been listening to us since day one, and we were both on the scout team when we first started this, and he would be asking us all the questions, and he would be always asking us just like, who you guys getting on, challenging us to be better and everything. So
right.
He's a great dude, and he's always been talking about mentors. He's been a mentor of ours.
Yeah, Rosie's cool as a fan, man. He's cool as a fan. He deserves all the success he's having down at Iowa State right now.
Yeah,
so.
which is sick, right?
Yeah.
But anyways, like when we caught wind, or who challenged us to get Ayo? I'm trying to remember.
It could have been Coach Rosie.
I think it was Rosie.
Was it really?
It might have been Rosie, and then I think Jesse definitely mentioned you. Dan
Jesse.
Ferrazzo, because Dan Ferrazzo loves
Faraz bro was on here.
No, he hasn't come on yet.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
He's been doing the same thing you've been doing, where he's like, I got busy here.
Farazzo's slinging them houses, man.
I
You
know.
he's
Yeah,
busy.
no,
He's
He's
getting
all-
married, and he's got a
I
whole thing.
love that
full
kid.
of
So,
energy.
fun fact, I've known Farazzo since he was in like kindergarten.
Really?
So I grew up playing for North St. Paul. Farazzo went to Montemita.
Mm-hmm.
So we rivaled in football growing up and through high school until I moved away. But Farazzo was the same grade as my brother, and they just used to battle. Farazzo was known as like the fastest white boy in America when we was growing up. Like when Farazzo like running the ball, like y'all better stop him in the backfield before anything happens. So shout out Dan. What's up,
I
man?
love that.
Yep.
But I mean, we really found you through Dan. Like all the older guys were like,
Yeah.
dude, you gotta have Ayo. You gotta have Ayo on. And then like it just made a ton of sense when I started following your Line of Scrimmage account,
Mhm.
which is just so damn cool.
I appreciate
When
it.
did
man.
you start that?
Man, Line of Scrimmage, I think it's been in the works for 28 and a half years, as old as I am.
There you go.
I was a passionate kid about football, man. Like, my parents are African immigrants.
Okay.
So when it comes to, like, the way you guys remember football isn't the way I remember football. Like, your
Mm.
dad probably put, like, a football in your crib when you were 2. Like, I
Yes.
just remember
Oh, yeah.
seeing, like,
Oh,
I
yeah.
was a big kid, kind of fat. I was a big kid. Like, if we did, like, a choir concert, like that school panoramic, I was top middle all the time. And I didn't really, not that I didn't fit in, but I was an African kid too. So like culturally, I didn't fit in, and then I was a big kid. So football was that one thing that I'm just like, what are these dudes doing on TV, hitting each other, scoring touchdowns? Like this is kind of tight. My dad, that was one thing too. We kind of like bonded on too. So my dad loved football. I love football, and Line of Scrimmage was something I just wanted more. I wanted more football in my life. Like I wanted to get better, but I didn't know how. Like we talk about high school, and like my high school years was squatting my ass off and running stadium stairs for hours until like I couldn't walk no more. That's how I thought I was getting better, which like you get more athletic, you get in better condition. You don't get better at a technical sport that way.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just one of those things. I never really had like a football mentor until later on when it wasn't too late, but like obviously I had like a 3-year pro career. I had like a cup of coffee in the NFL, and like that got cut short because I just wasn't prepared to be there yet. So basically when I got done and when I started playing, I would just work with like the high school kids from where I was from. And those kids turned into college players. A few of those college players turned into NFL players. Now I'm not playing football anymore, but I'm a financial professional. I'm in the wealth management industry. But it's one of those things where I was like, I gotta make a decision here. Like I can't keep working with these guys, even though they keep texting me back. I can't keep working with these guys, or else I'm gonna get fired. Like I'm not gonna be able to, make money.
Yeah.
But then I'm just like, this is kind of my passion. This is what I want to do. So I started camps when I was in the Arena Football League. And I'd come home, I'd do camps left and right. And then I just, 2 years ago, me and my boy Coach Quay, who used to play for Caruso up in South Dakota, fun fact, played in the NFL for like 3 years. We came together like, hey, man, let's pass on the game to these young kids. Growing up, we didn't have no outlets to really go to camps that were affordable. The only camp was like the Mike Tice camp. It was like $2,000. You go there for like 2 days, do jumping jacks, shake Randy Moss hands, and go home. Like regular kids from like blue-collar backgrounds weren't going to be able to afford that. So let's create an outlet for kids, wherever they come from, but we're actually giving them from what we learned at our high-level football, just kind of feeding it to them. If you're a hockey player, if you're a basketball player, there's some sort of pro or high-level player grew up in your neighborhood. Your parents can pay for training, and you can learn the skills, learn how to dribble with your left hand and whatnot. So we're teaching football players at a young age how to dribble with their left hand so they don't get to the NFL or college someday and get told no because of that one thing they didn't have from a mentor. So
I love that. You're taking your own experience and
Yeah.
the failures,
Mhm.
I mean, more or less,
for sure, yes.
and instilling it and saying, like, hey, this is what I learned. This is what you guys need,
Yes,
which is freaking awesome. That give back mentality is just
it's fun. man.
awesome, dude.
It's fun.
So how long have you been running it for then?
Well, I mean, my first camp was 2014.
Okay.
And I was working with guys, but like the LLC Line of Scrimmage was created like a year and a half ago.
Hey.
Okay.
That's
So
like for
that-
us, right? We're like, our LLC started in
You know what I mean?
August 18,
Yeah.
right around there.
August 18.
Yeah.
Yo.
Did
Love it.
Can I do this?
Yes,
Oh.
you can.
I feel like when I get around a lot of white boys, I
Yeah,
I do
shaka.
this a lot. Actually,
Yeah,
What
we
is
love
it-
that.
What does it actually mean?
It's Hawaiian. It's a shaka, bro.
Shotgun?
Hang loose.
Shaka.
Shaka,
Yes.
All right.
Hang loose.
for sure.
We're a
Mhm.
hang loose
I
podcast.
serve from Basket.
You
So-
think of like God, what's that movie with McLovin? He's like gangsta.
Oh yeah, pineapple. No, not pineapple. Super bad.
Superbad,
Yes.
gangsta.
There you go.
Mhm.
What's up, Vice?
So one thing that I want to tap into, because you said like, oh yeah, I was missing football. I was, there was kind of a void that you had. I mean, because you said Arena League. Did you play in the NFL too? Like you had a cup of coffee, you played in the practice squad
I was
or
in
whatever.
training camp with Seattle.
Sweet.
Was
Was that through the Schneider connection?
I'm not gonna say no.
There you go.
It probably started manifested there. That's actually another story in itself, but we'll talk about that another day. And then briefly in Canada too, in the CFL with the Edmonton Eskimos.
Yeah. So you're
similar to Charlie Dowdle in the way of like getting that training camp look and you know fighting for the spot.
Right.
Yeah, because he was the guy that we looked at as He was in our he's
Chuck Doodle.
Chuck Doodle.
Chuck Doodle. Love that kid.
Love that man. He was on our podcast season 1, like episode 13.
Maybe even earlier, probably like 8.
8. Yeah.
I love Charlie.
That's right before he was going to camp for the Jaguars.
Yeah, we interviewed him right before he went to the Jags, which is hilarious.
That's kind of funny. I had to plug that real quick.
Yeah, I have to. We've had.
So you guys saying if I try to play football again, like I'll go make a team because I interviewed with you guys?
There's a good chance.
You know, we have connections. Yeah.
Yeah, we
just saying.
We can spur our wings here.
Because I got some cleats in the cars.
Some land sharks?
Yeah. That's only funny to us. People don't know the land sharks. Like,
God damn it.
I feel like I watch your podcast. It's like a few like cute marketing girls that work at Target or whatever. And I'm just like, I'm not going to say I can't be captivated, but it's like, wow, you guys are really passionate about selling buttons. You know what I mean? So I feel like them same cute girls watching us and like, why are these dudes laughing about land sharks? Like, why is that so funny? Yo, the land shark is the lamest, most classic cleat of all time.
Q land shark right here. Yep.
That's like, you know how like what are those Nikes that everyone's wearing now? Like the dad shoes.
Yep.
Those are land sharks, right?
Well, they are the land sharks of like the world, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
They're the land sharks of Maple Grove.
What are their names? We recommended to Coach Caruso.
The Air Monarchs.
Monarchs.
Air
Thank
Monarchs.
you.
Yeah, so that's right. So Caruso, when we asked him, so we'll ask you your average quality eventually, but we asked him what his average quality was, and he deflected us right away. Puts it right back in our court. He's like, all right, what do you guys think my average quality is? And Andrew and I are like,
ooh,
already sweating.
Spicy.
We're nervous. We're everything head to toe.
So I went deep and I was just like
right away.
I was like, your approachability. Like I feel like sometimes I can approach you and other times I do not want to come near you. And your approachability is like your average quality because sometimes it's high, sometimes it's like everyone's a fear of you. And then Decky goes,
your shoe game. Your shoe game's average. And I go, I got a solution for you. You know, you got wide feet. Everyone knows it. Like, I think you should go with some Air Monarchs. And I gave him the dad shoe suggestion.
He probably didn't get them.
So he texted me like 2 or 3 days later.
Yeah.
Screenshot of the New Balance version of them, and he goes, "I was doing some research. These 679s are a little bit more comfortable. They fit my feet a little bit better." And then finishes with 2 fire emojis, and I go, "You look great, coach."
The fire emojis.
The fire emojis.
Oh my God.
So he's been wearing those ever since.
You know how we have like 18 emojis on our texting because we probably have used
recently.
Yeah. He probably literally only has like 2 of those. And it's just a fire emoji and then like maybe like a purple heart for St. Thomas.
Purple heart, yeah. And he's just saying FTITK for forever now.
What does that mean?
And we can bleep that out.
Interesting.
Yeah. Okay. What second is that?
5250.
Yeah, we didn't even get
to,
you know what? Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to publicly proclaim that you guys bring me back so we can actually talk about Line of Scrimmage because like y'all some cool dudes and I just want to rap with y'all first. We didn't really get to talk about LOS or like what I'm doing with like the speaking or any type of youth mentorship type stuff. So we'll talk about that later. I'm running the show now. I'm the captain now.
You can run
so let's bring me back.
I'm buzzing off.
Yeah, let's say
he brings us in here. We're like semi-drunk on this. I have
that
like
Remy Martin boy.
I have like 2 hours of sleep under my belt right now. I'm just following your lead, brother.
Well, you know it gets fun when your chest starts to get hot.
Yes.
That's how you know it's a good
Face
time.
is warm.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Andrew are looking at each other.
Yeah.
This isn't our podcast anymore. I just want to keep talking about land sharks.
Yeah. Just call me daddy now.
But I really wanted to like tap into, I guess, a little bit of like filling the void, and this is very on par with our conversation right now. Is like football for so many years of your life, right? Like 22 years for us, 26 or whatever, how long ever you played after, but like you operate within football in your mind for so long, and then it's just gone. How did you like fill that void? What'd you do to like kind of, I guess, channel your energy elsewhere because you had to?
I think Line of Scrimmage was a void for me, which I'm blessed to have because a lot of people don't have it. When the Super Bowl came, which was huge, right? Because like obviously, even though I wasn't in the league that long, like when you get in that football circle, kind of like the juniors hockey player from like Minnesota who grew up with a bunch of really good hockey players in the league. I have a lot of good friends that are in the league currently, and like they all come home. It's like a homecoming. Like, hey guys, welcome to Minneapolis. Like, what you need? Drinks on the left, like toilet paper on the right, whatever. Right? I said left and right. My bad. But it's I was speaking to Roman Oben. I don't know if you guys know who he is. He was like a 10-time Pro Bowler from like the 90s when I was a kid, and he works for the NFL now. And he was talking about how like athletes at the NFL level have an issue assimilating back to society, because technically, like especially at that high of an altitude they've been in the sports, they haven't been a regular person since they were 15. When I say regular, like they probably got away with some stuff, especially from the South. Rules didn't apply, whether it was with women, whether it was with work, whether it was whatever. And like they always had money in their bank accounts, but like they never really had to like hustle for that money. Even though playing football is a hustle, but you don't really correlate the two when you playing. It's like there's money in your account and you're playing football. Like I remember my first pro contract I signed. I'm thinking like, yeah, I got to get a part-time job. And then like the direct deposit, I'm like, oh shit, I get paid for this. This is kind of tight. So he was talking about how like people, you know, they have the maturity level of 15-year-old by the time they're 30. And I even took that back because, like, you know, we're D3 football players. I know guys struggle with that coming from the D3 level, or even guys that stopped playing football when they were 12th grade. I think it's something that we don't talk about. Somehow everyone just either gets over it or still struggles with it. The fact that you've been playing football for your whole life, your life was centered around football, right? No summer vacations because you were training, no fall weddings. That's for damn sure, right? And all of a sudden, like, you're just plopped into society and like taught to just
follow the rules.
Not even follow the rules, because I wouldn't say, especially coming from where we came from, we never had an issue following rules, especially for our coach.
Great point.
The coach we play for. But it's more a sense just like, damn, it's 3 o'clock. Like, what do I do? Like, I'm not going to practice. I'm not doing nothing. Like, and even like women, social life, that was all built around my football schedule.
Oh, yeah.
Now all of a sudden I got to get a hobby. Like, I think people watch like One Tree Hill or something like that. Maybe
New Girl.
Netflix, like weird stuff. Like it was tough, which is why Line of Scrimmage came. Because I wake up at like 5 a.m, drive out to Woodbury, St. Paul, wherever it is, and just work with these young athletes for completely free. Why? Because it just filled me up. Like in the wealth management industry, I work with nothing but 65-year-old white men, right? And they asked me how my weekend was. Oh, you know, I was good. You know, I mowed the lawn. Clean the gutters, and I was doing a keg stand at some party, but like it's just my life was different. But I needed that like loud music, Trick Daddy playing in the locker room, cussing, a competitive atmosphere that I was used to my whole life. So that's kind of how I like hopped on the Line of Scrimmage. That was my, before I was getting paid for it. It was more like I needed y'all way more than y'all need me.
Yes, I love that. I mean, that's kind of the same thing that we went through, but fortunately, we already kind of had this podcast going for about a year at that point. And then when we graduated in May of last year, Andrew and I kind of remember we went on our like graduation trip down to Hilton Head at his grandpa's place, and it's just like the coolest thing ever. Hilton Head in South Carolina.
Okay.
Yeah. And so we go down there, and you know, it was one of those things where it was like we kind of looked at each other and we're like, well, I mean, you're not doing much, and I'm not doing much, so we might as well come together and take this shit seriously.
Yeah.
And like 3 months later, we started the LLC, finished out the season doing 45 weeks straight of podcasting, and then we basically took everything that we learned within those last 3 months from when we started the LLC and then implemented it into this year.
Yeah.
And now it's like I look back at when I graduated in May, and I'm like an entirely different person.
I commend that, dude. Like, y'all have no idea, because it's like people do stuff like this all the time, at least from like a macro level. When you watch it, like, oh, there's podcasts everywhere, there's this and that. But when you see someone doing this, and then to factor in y'all's age, you guys are what, 23?
Yes.
Yeah.
Like, that's crazy. Like, I know people at 23, like, to them, it was an extension of college, right? It was basically like, I'm going to work just to get this check. When I get this check, I'm about to go to the bar 3-4 nights a week. When I get off of work, I'll probably just sit and watch Netflix, not really understand that, like, okay, I'm not in that college or high school sense where it's just I'm not working towards something yet. And for you guys to realize that at a young age, I commend the mess out of that. Like, that's maturity. Like, regardless of how you guys personify yourself on this show, like, you guys are extremely mature to say that. Like, you just got off the plane, you can barely sleep. Did you go to work today?
Yeah.
You went to work today.
Yeah.
I walk in the house, you drinking coffee. Like, all right, let's get this done. Not that you guys don't like doing this podcast, but I know for a fact when you like doing something, but then you do it 5 days a week, Day 4, day 5 gets tough.
Mm-hmm.
It gets very tough. As fun as football is, if it wasn't somebody forcing me to be at practice every day, I don't think we'd all be at practice every day. We'd want to take days off.
Mm-hmm.
But y'all schedule these events like, no, we got to do it because we hustling. And like, not a lot of people can realize that till they get 30. They can not, they don't not that they don't understand delayed gratification, but when they, God, I don't know what I was.
Well, it's tough because we come from a program where we're preached to be the best version of yourself.
Yeah.
And when you graduate from football, I was always thinking of how can I be the best version of myself on the football field and a little bit off the football field, but it's really just like carrying myself with integrity, being honest,
rolling out,
having passion,
rolling.
Like those are the things you do off the field to better yourself on the field.
Exactly, but you found what your self was. What I'm trying to say is like people don't know what they self are until 30, 40, 50. Like obviously in wealth management, I work with a lot of people that are retiring, and they don't know who they themselves are. Like they don't want to retire, not because they don't have enough money. It's just because, now I'm 65. I was like, what do I do? Like, I basically just came to General Mills every day for 35 years.
Mm-hmm.
So for you guys to figure it out at 23, you have no idea how much of a blessing it is. And I commend you for, taking the initiative to just see it through.
Yeah, to just do it.
And we appreciate that.
Absolutely.
I mean, we are still a pair of wildly average dudes. And
gotta throw the slogan in
gotta
there.
throw the slogan.
It's a brand thing.
Yeah. Mad corny. No, I'm playing. That was tight. That was
wildly average.
I'm still looking for like our real slogan. Like for whether it's like if I was on a sitcom, what would I say? Like, that moment where you look in the camera and be like, I don't know. And then everyone like laughs in the background. I'm looking for like either my personal line of scrimmage or whatever it is. So I'm like, again, I call it corny because I'm jealous. Y'all found y'all wildly average slogan.
And
it was given to us more or less by Coach K.
Coach K queued it up.
Shout out to Wally.
Absolutely.
Wallace.
And he's season 3 episode.
Now he's marketing intern spotlight number 40.
Attaboy.
And if you're a football player right now who joined for the first time on this podcast, you're like, wow, these guys kicked ass. Go listen to Coach Caruso back in season 2. Wally Kaczynski, marketing intern spotlight number 40. Got Rosie at the beginning of season 3. And I think we have like 30 St. Thomas football players or coaches on this podcast.
I bet a lot of people that want to get into y'all podcast probably hate y'all for that.
Sure.
Not in a bad way. It's just like that. You're passionate about it, but it's like if I'm some dude let me name another random city, in Lino Lakes, Minnesota. Just like, oh, these guys got a cool podcast. And I'm like, why are they talking about this Division III football team I ain't never heard of before?
Like it's the greatest gift from God.
Yeah, so I like it because I watch. It's like it's an inside joke. I listen to Jordan Roberts, and first thing he goes around with like, how did y'all get him to talk for an hour? Like we're tight,
monotone.
we're cool, but he doesn't speak more than like 5 minutes at a time.
Right. And he's just sitting there. He sat there in the couch in a like one pitched voice the whole time. I'm like, Jordan, we hang out all the time. Why aren't you yourself and just like let loose a little bit right now, man? It was cracking me up. But this transitions to the back end of our show where we stay consistent and we ask the same questions all the time.
All right. And I was supposed to read that, by the way. And
it's
I read
a
few of them, but
well, the first one is the trickiest
one.
one.
The wine. I couldn't find it.
And you brought something even better.
Remy Ma.
Yes, sir.
I need a sponsorship, by the way.
We can work on that.
Yeah.
We'll plug it right after this. The first question is, what's your average quality? So we're plugged as wildly average guys. We talk about our wildly average attributes all the time.
Mm-hmm.
But we're curious on your end, Ayo. What is something you do well at times and other times not so well? At the end of the day, it's your average quality. So what would that be?
Average quality.
Another way we like to describe it is something that you care about, but you're not very good at yet.
Yeah,
But
okay.
you're focusing on it. You're like, okay, I'm not good at it yet, but like I'd love to be great at it one day.
I would say, you know what? How about patience? So I think as an athlete, you got to have some sort of patience, right? Like you don't go to the weight room, do 30 curls and be like, am I swole yet? So like as a football player, I have patience where I understand delayed gratification, whether it's in my career, whether it's in my sport, whether it's in relationships. But short-term patience, I have none of it. Zero. I was that kid, I'd hop in the lunchroom. If the lunch line was long, I'm going to sit at the table, crack jokes with everybody. And then when the lunch line's done, I go to the lunch line, grab some food, come back, eat it real fast, and finish lunch.
Mm-hmm.
Or like I either leave the office early or like not till like 7 at night because I don't do traffic. I'm like, if it's a 7-mile drive, I want it to feel like the same 7-mile drive. I don't want to be in 7 miles of traffic for 45, 50, 60, 70 minutes. So I'm weird in that sense. Like I either got to get out of there early or I'm just like, yo, we're going to be here till like 7:30 tonight. So
That's savvy.
Yeah.
I like that. But I mean, you could leave, at the time everybody else does, and then you just pop on a podcast.
Could pop on the podcast.
And you can
Yeah,
just hang out.
Which is what I did today. Actually, no, I left a little early. I had a meeting, and then I went home and changed because I don't like showing up in a suit. It's not that it's not
Dude,
me.
hold on.
but
If
that
you
would've
showed up
been
in a
the-
suit to this podcast, I would have been like, oh, shit.
I would have
He showed up with whiskey
in
and
a suit.
in a suit.
In a-
This is
in-
not what I was
And
expecting.
a pipe.
Pipe, yeah.
And like the planner's peanut hat.
Yeah.
Ooh, and a monocle, I would have thrown y'all boys off. It would have been bad. It would have been bad on y'all.
Maybe that's a play we have coming here in the future.
Yeah, we'll have you come back on,
Yeah.
and we'll
We'll
all
all
wear
be
that.
dressed
like that,
It'll
yeah.
be a black tie
We
event.
should do like an off-site podcast
Yeah.
next time. So I fuego this little cigar bar. I don't even smoke cigars, but take a lot of clients there.
Okay.
We should do it out of there. It'd be
Yeah,
real chill.
that'd be fun. Because
Put
they
on
always
like
have like
a-
the leather couches. It's,
Yeah.
you can't see across the room. That's
I-
always good.
I'll pull up in a Hugh Hefner smoking jacket.
Oh, shit.
And just like, oh, I didn't expect you guys. Come on in.
What would I wear? What would you wear to that? I know you would probably wear something super Italian, but like, I don't
Very
know, I
Italian.
like,
Yeah, pinstripes.
yeah.
Pinstripes.
I have this. I have this awesome lion shirt that I wear too much to like.
Lion shirt?
Oh, dude, it's a tie-dye lion shirt. It's the big face of a lion. I'd probably wear that
Tie-dye.
and probably like a jacket.
Jacket.
A sport coat.
Yeah,
Sport coat.
sport
Okay, I was
coat,
like,
yeah,
what
yeah.
kind of jacket? We talking like a bomber?
Yeah.
No, oh, I could go
Trench
with
coat?
that. I should just wear like a Letterman's jacket. I
There
feel
we
like
go.
that'd be
The
kind
St.
of
Thomas
off
Letterman's
color.
jacket.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't even think I have one of those, to be honest. Anyways,
Yeah.
I love the
That's
patience
priceless.
thing though,
Yeah.
because like
Yeah.
I run short on patience every day, and when I don't have a lot of sleep, like
Mhm.
today, that was one of those days
Right.
for me where I'm just like, at work and I'm not gonna get into it, but
Yeah.
basically I'm always dealing with people doing things
Yeah.
incorrectly, and it's just like, hey, do it right the first time.
Yeah.
For once.
Patience.
God damn it.
That's a tough one, man.
But
Like,
yeah, it's one of those things though where like if you can freaking just change your perspective a little bit and be like, okay, like I get that you're not doing it right the first time, or I'm frustrated that I'm in traffic, and
Mhm.
when you just realize it's not that big of a deal,
Yeah.
like dude,
Well,
it makes it so
It
much
is a
easier.
big deal though.
It's
But
a-
think about it this way, because if you in an hour and a half, especially you from Chicago,
I
so
hate
you know,
traffic.
right?
Yep.
If you in traffic for 2 hours a day, that means you're in traffic for 4 hours a day.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Like I saw this
yeah.
crazy stat, like you'll spend like 20 years of your life, or like 15, like you'll spend 6 years of your life on the toilet,
Yep.
and you'll spend like 20 years of your life in traffic, which is just like, think about when if you knew the day you died, like you're 90 years old, you're like, damn, wish I could have that 6 years on the toilet back. Wish I could hear that time in traffic back.
Mm.
I don't know. I think about it that way. Like that's one thing
Yeah.
that Glenn's definitely taught me: efficiency. My
Yeah.
thing is like, why not just stay here longer, get more work done, leave at a time where I can get home in 15, 20 minutes rather than an hour, and just be more efficient with my day.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Okay.
so that's why I say patient back. Same thing. We was talking about dating. When you meet somebody new, when you do like the BS, you know what I'm saying, like the BS.
You
to
build
start
this
with.
facade
Yes.
of yourself,
yeah, when
right?
you just
Before
kinda
you
start-
open the door and let them
yeah,
in.
exactly. Like, why don't we just open the door and let them in? Why don't we just start like straight up off top, just like,
Why
hey,
don't we? I don't know.
hey, I got a drunk uncle that is really weird at times. What's your name? You know what I'm saying? Like off top. Like, why don't we do that?
Well, why don't you?
Because you want to give him that pivot left and juke right, and then you think you're open to
Right.
the end zone,
Right.
and really that you got someone else blindside. And
That was
you're,
very John Gruden of you, by the way. That was very John Gruden.
well, I saw you sitting there, and
Yeah.
you gave me a quick shimmy
Right.
left, right early, so I was like, all right, I'm gonna play
Yeah.
off that. Yeah.
But that's what it is, like dating or even meeting people in the first place. Like, why don't we just show what we really are right away? Why do we got to show them like the safe thing first, and then eventually just like, it's actually me. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? My
Mhm.
bad. I'm bad with this microphone. By the way,
No,
he's
you're
gonna be mad
crushing
at
it. No,
Yeah.
Ty's fine. Don't
He's a
worry.
good kid.
Ty, do you have any questions?
No.
You don't have
Get
any
better with
que-
that microphone. I'll beat you
Yeah.
up.
All right, for sure. He was scary.
I
He
see
didn't say nothing when I walked in. He was like, "Y'all ever seen the Addams Family?" He was like the Lurch. He just pulled up straight face, like, "You right?"
Yeah.
I'm like, "All right,
Saw
man."
that. Are you a Bears fan?
Big Bears fan.
I'm a bigger Packers fan, so
Oh, that's
Oh,
cool. We
God,
can
you
fight later.
deal.
No, you know what's funny though? I respect the Packers.
Thank you.
We played St. Norbert's my sophomore year.
I'm from like
You are?
I went to high school right across the river.
What school?
De Pere?
Oh, De Pere. My roommate Casey Schmidt, freshman year went there.
That name sounds
Yeah,
really
De Pere.
familiar.
Y'all got some beautiful women over there, by the way. But
Thank you.
Caruso took us in Lambeau, and yeah, I'm a Bears fan. I'm like, man, F Lambeau. Like, I'm gonna stay on the bus. Like, fuck that. Like, I ain't go. My bad. I'm cussing. But we went through, did the tour. Like, Lambeau has a lot of history. The Packers have a lot of history. The way that they almost got sold and like everybody bought in. Like, I respect that as a football fan. I respect everything about the Packers. I love Aaron Rodgers as a quarterback. I wish he was my quarterback, but he's not. So I respect the Packers.
Yeah,
Vikings,
thank you.
not as much because I
Mhm.
feel like there's no real Vikings fans.
Yeah, they're questionable.
Yeah, like when they're bad, like they talk so bad about their team. And when they're good, like, oh man, I love blah blah blah. Like the Skol just like came like 2 years ago randomly. Like
From Iceland.
Never had Skol ever. I've never heard Skol, never saw the clap.
And
But all
they
of a
have the
sudden,
most pride in it that they've ever had.
Exactly. Well, last year they did. And like right now they're bad, so like you don't hear a whole lot from them.
You don't hear a whole lot of clapping, but I mean, just the marketing.
Yeah.
The marketing department at the Vikings, they've really taken off.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's
Very
probably.
impressive.
See, you guys look at it from a different lens.
Yeah.
I guess the marketing department definitely pushes that. But
They're
in
like,
my
hey.
head, it's the fair weather fans.
Well,
Sure.
I mean, think about what actually happened there, right? Like, clap came in about 3-4 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
That was when
If that.
Iceland, the soccer team,
Mm-hmm.
they did very well in the World Cup. Had a
Mhm.
couple upsets, and that's when they started. They've always had the clap.
Okay.
That's been a part of their nation.
Okay. Oh, really? Is that where it came from?
Yes, and then that same year, some lady in the Vikings marketing department was like, "Oh my God, the
Yeah.
Vikings are from Iceland." Boom, put it together, and now every white guy is clapping before the game.
Every white guy has the caucasity to clap at a Vikings game now.
Oh man.
Oh my God! But anyways, transitioning so fast to the back pocket question, Andrew.
So,
You want to hit him with
This is
it?
gonna be
Yeah.
the longest episode ever.
So
by
your
the way.
average quality is patience, and
Yeah.
we're having great patience right now. I
Yeah.
think. Though. I mean, I think we're killing our patience game. Yeah.
Andrew's got the talking stick.
So our next question is core question: what is in your back pocket? So when pressure becomes stress and anxiety's rising, what do you use in your back pocket to overcome these situations? It could be a habit, it could be an emotion, or it could be something you physically carry in your back pocket to help you overcome these situations.
I don't have like a corporate name for it yet, but like when I play football, I used to, and nobody knows this because I literally say it to myself. I'd call it gorilla mode. Like if we was down by summer, if we need, it was like 4th and short, we needed a huge stop. In my head, it was like I just like transform like Dragon Ball Z and just
Super Saiyan.
somehow make it happen. So like I call it gorilla mode. Like when my back's against the wall, I feel like that's when I perform my best, which can actually be my downfall at times too. Like sometimes I play down to my competition when I don't need to, but like when that competition's like better than me, like that's the best Ayo you're gonna see football wise, baseball wise, professionally, relationship wise ever. Which actually Coach Tower told me funny things like you shouldn't have to wait until your back's against the wall to start doing what you need to do, but that's another conversation. So I would say that gorilla mode. Gorilla mode is in my back pocket. Somehow like I just find a way to get things done when I need to. You can call it procrastinating too, I guess, but like if I got to study for this exam, I'm going to get everything studied in that night. If I got a big client meeting in the morning, I'm going to figure out how to do it better than I've ever done it before. When we talk about like big plays in football, like, 4th and short type situations, like Wally didn't like me for this a lot, but I would just go backdoor sometimes and basically just make it happen to where like, even though I didn't do my job, like I got there and I made the play because I knew this would work, or like, I'm just kind of going outside myself and having an out of body experience, if you will. So I say gorilla mode. I'm gonna trademark that too.
You should.
Yeah,
that's
that's
awesome.
sick.
That's what I
dude.
tell my little kids when we like in high school. Like I have pregame speeches like Wally.
You do.
Yeah. Not quite Wally, because like Wally's were just funny to me. They didn't really like hype me up.
Did you hear the one that I played for him on the podcast?
Probably. Which one was it though?
It was the it has the
Dire
Money for
Straits,
Nothing
yeah.
Dire Straits in the background, and it's our first game senior year, and he's talking about I will not be a part of a unit that doesn't play with their hair the fuck on fire, and how you have to run through adversity. Have you ever heard this?
He's got new ones then.
Okay,
'cause
I'll
show
play
you
it for
this.
you
He's
after
definitely
this.
got
This
new
will
ones.
make you laugh,
Play with
cry,
your hair the
everything.
fuck on fire.
Play with your hair the fuck on fire. But so you give a lot of pregame speeches then, huh?
When I was coaching high school, yeah, I
Hell
loved it.
yeah.
It was fun because like just got to be me. I got to be X-rated, and the kids, they laughed at it, but at the same time it got them going. Like the whole
Hell
gorilla mode
yeah.
thing started
Hell
as like, y'all ever seen a gorilla like be nice, have table manners, like wait till the whistle's done? Like, no, y'all gotta beat your chest, not care. Lion, slapped. Elephant, gone. Shark, it don't matter. I'm a gorilla. Boom, 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 boom. And then these kids were like, yeah, I'm a gorilla. Even that little runt that's like 5'3",
Not a gorilla.
115. You couldn't tell him he not a gorilla that day. What? That boy just like talking bad to like water girls and stuff. Like, let me get there. You know what I mean? Like, so yeah, gorilla mode.
Dude, I
All right,
fucking
that's your
love that.
trademark.
Gorilla
man.
mode.
Gorilla mode. I freaking love that. Make T-shirts, dude.
Should I?
Yes.
Yeah,
Okay,
dude.
Yep.
so only if y'all post it so we can sell them.
We can.
By the way,
Let's do
Line
it.
of Scrimmage T-shirts are being
Hey,
sold
those are
right now.
clean, dude.
So what we are doing, again, I'm the captain now.
Mm-hmm.
What we're doing is we work with a lot of athletes. Like I said, come from situations kind of like me and Cole came from, where our parents weren't paying for extra training in the sport. barely got them to let us play sports. So what we're doing is we're selling our apparel to be able to scholarship kids. So for every X amount of dollars we sell an apparel, that's going to our kids. So we're like a for-profit, but with a non-profit kind of like feel to it. So buy some Line of Scrimmage stuff. I'm sure you guys are going to put the link on or whatever, but I really appreciate it. We got like some really cool stuff coming in. So.
Sweet. And that'll be in the show notes for those listening.
Yeah, the show notes.
So we've been talking a lot. And
a whole lot.
This has been fun. And a lot of it has been just all of our journees collectively have been a challenge in one way. And that is really at the root, in my opinion, of how you find yourself. Right? Like we're all talking here. Facts. Like basically how we found ourselves of like, oh, we like podcasting. Oh, I like coaching kids. Like we had a void to fill, and through that we challenged ourselves, and that's how we came out on top.
Right.
We're challenging ourselves every day. But anyways, we like to ask this question of a challenge for the back pocket. So who would you like to see next on the back pocket from someone in your market, network, or anything? Who would you challenge us to get on the podcast next?
I would say for first, I was actually thinking of this on my way here because obviously I read this last minute.
Of course.
But Kelly Klein, she is in the scouting department for the Minnesota Vikings. Actually, I just met her last year. She's one of the relationships I feel like one of the most beneficial, like emotionally and business-wise, one of the best relationships I've had. She is a very motivating woman. I think she's the only woman in scouting. It's either she's the only woman in NFL scouting or she holds the highest ranking position in NFL scouting for any woman.
Wow.
She's very impressive. She's like Rick Spielman's like we'll be kicking it and like Rick Spielman will be like, hey Kelly, what do you think about? I'm like, yo, like Rick Spielman's texting you. That's crazy. But it's just like nothing to her. Like she'll just send like a fire emoji or whatever. But yeah, Kelly Klein for sure. Like I think she'd be great. Like her story is phenomenal, and she's one of the hardest working, not only women but people I know. Like she a hustler. Like her, if she had a life highlight tape, the soundtrack would be "Every Day I'm Hustling" by Rick Ross.
There we go.
Challenge accepted.
Uzama Obasi, that's my boy. I don't know if you guys have heard of him or seen him on Instagram. He's got a really good story. He does some really good stuff now. Like he's a photographer, creator, and a businessman. And he is as cool as what he does is because like all he does is like hang out with NFL players and takes pictures with them. Gets paid like a lot of money to do it, and like he's marketing and just like knows a lot of cool people. But as cool as what he does now, his path to where he came from is even cooler. Because like I'm not even gonna tell the story because then y'all won't even bring him on the podcast. But like Uzama Obasi for sure. You got to see about Uzama.
All right. Love it.
One more. Let me think of. How about an athlete? Let me get an athlete on here. I would say CJ Ham.
Okay.
CJ Ham.
Awesome.
I don't know CJ like really, really well. He came and spoke in one of my camps. I knew his agent. His agent got him to come speak in my camp, and we met, and he's just a positive human being. I know y'all had Chad Greenway on here, but me and CJ have ran into each other a lot of times, and we've talked a few times, and we text from time to time. Not like name dropping or anything, but like he just seems like a really positive dude.
Sure.
Positive dude, and like he's a D3, D2 type guy.
I've heard him on the radio a few times.
Plays for the Vikings now, and I'm sure he has a great story. So CJ, I don't know why I was thinking about you. This might be a little weird, Stephanie. This is not that weird. That's his wife. Come on the podcast. Come check it out.
Let's do it, dude.
Awesome.
Those are great
across the board.
challenges.
Challenge accepted. Love that.
All right,
We're making it happen.
And now we've been hammering you with questions for now, I believe, like an hour 15.
117.
117.
Oh, look at this, dude.
Beautiful.
Wow. Hold up. Time out.
Yeah, let's look at our level.
This thing was full when we walked in.
Yeah. The boys are hot.
This thing was full.
It's so funny because I would say in the last month, every guest has brought over some sort of alcoholic beverage.
Really?
And they've like let us know beforehand.
Interesting.
Like you were like, get the wine glasses ready. I'm bringing wine over. And I was like, I literally lined the wine glasses up, and they're just like, why do we have a wine glass here? I was like, oh, I was bringing over wine.
Yeah.
Like we had Bolos by Bauhaus. We've had freaking Oktoberfest beers.
Okay.
I mean, LaCroix we've done a while, but I mean it's fun.
Yeah, I ain't
I
never
think we
had
got iced on the podcast. We got
Yeah,
iced.
that's
some
kinda
girl.
tight.
Yeah, some girl brought what was in her back pocket.
She's
Was
not
ices.
just some girl. She's Clara.
Clara Cott.
Clara Cott. Yo, funny story. Clara Cott was like basically my roommate.
That's right. She lived.
Did she say that?
Yeah, she's
Okay.
she's told. We're good friends with.
Clara's my homegirl. I love Clara. Clara's mad cool. But yeah, she lived like on top of us in college.
Yeah, that's right.
So she would throw like bangers the night before, like Tommy Johnny.
Yep.
And like she saw no reason why she shouldn't be throwing these big parties before football games.
That is so
Clara's
funny.
mad tight though.
I know, she's awesome. She's the
she
best.
iced us.
But yeah, we've been peppering you with questions all day, and this is usually a time for us to say like, yeah, we've crushed this podcast. Like you've had great answers, we've had great questions, except for Ty. You didn't really ask any questions again, which is like, hey, we're evaluating.
It's cool.
We're
We're evaluating your performance.
We're
all the time.
evaluating Ty.
He kind of scares me anyway. So
I'm asserting my dominance. That was sort of my.
No, that was a
My
flex.
MO today.
That was a
Yeah.
flex. No,
Well
I
done,
respect.
Ty.
Just know we have another podcast. Maybe one question.
yeah, y'all hustling. Y'all got another one after this.
Oh, yeah.
We do.
Now your tips. You'll probably be hung-over by the time.
I know it's gonna be funny.
This next
Well,
podcast
they're
comes.
probably bringing over something too, so we're just gonna keep this thing going.
Clamped.
Yeah.
You know, I might stay actually.
Yeah.
Just
watch
like
us
right next to
crumble.
You ever watch like like Jimmy Fallon and some stuff, and it's like, all right, I come on, I'm the first guest, I'm talking, blah blah blah, this and that, and then they awkwardly sit here after.
Yes.
For like an hour, just,
And they don't do anything.
you know what I mean? Let me be that guy.
All right.
Let me do that.
So right, we'll try and wedge you in that corner right there. I think that'll-
I ain't wedging no corner. I'm sitting right here, drinking Remy Martin to the face.
Hey, there we
Oh
go.
my God.
But anyways, we've great podcast. Good
Thanks,
work,
bro.
brother.
This was fun.
Yeah.
This
Do
was
you
fun.
have any questions for us though?
You know what? This podcast was tight because it was the first time I met y'all, and I kind of wish like we got like because I think we could have done this like pre-podcast stuff. Like we probably could have just started the podcast now because I learned a lot about you guys.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
But questions for you guys, man. Like, I mean, what's next? I think I get when it comes to any entrepreneur, when it comes to anybody doing something of the creative nature, that really doesn't have like a formal path. Like I said, we talk about the guys from Ernst & Young. Like, oh, when you're a junior analysis, your goal is to be a senior analysis, right? Like, there's no junior podcast going to a senior podcast. Like, I want to know what's the next route because I am bought into what it is you guys do. I think the passion behind it, like you guys ooze passion, right? I hate saying the word passion to St. Thomas people because then they think it's like pride and passion. But
Broad and passion.
no, the actual passion. Like you guys just like ooze what it is you do.
Thank you.
Like what's next for y'all?
Well, the first thing that's next, our last episode of the season will be hosted at most likely Sisyphus Brewery. We're doing a live podcast, and we're basically everyone's like, "Oh, who's the guest? Who's the guest?" Just gonna be Andrew and I,
Okay.
and we're just gonna pack this season, this year of podcasting, and all the different people we've had on, all the different experiences we've had, and just talk it through. Invite every single guest, so you're invited. Sisyphus Brewery over here, right next to Dunwoody College.
For sure.
They got a sweet venue there, but more logistically of what's next is, Andrew and I have put all of our time, 99% of our time into production of this podcast.
Mm-hmm.
We figured out how to record a good podcast where we have the
Very
camera
good.
set up, we got
Very
the live
good, I would
stream, we
say.
got everything.
Yeah.
GoPro's off. I think it might be out of battery, but it's irrelevant. But like we have committed all of our time to doing that. Now it's time to kind of take a step back and see, okay, maybe we don't have to put out 3 podcasts a week. Maybe we can start hunting and maybe playing a little bit more of the entrepreneur, right? More of the business. See how we can kind of flare up our content a little bit more, how we can kind of put ourselves out there a little bit more. And I think first goal we were asked this last week was like, where do you guys want to be in a year? And sponsors for sure. Like we want to go invest the interests of other companies and see what our value is to them.
For sure.
Just to start there and then honestly grow that and build this brand of like when someone comes on, I want like them to be their most authentic self. And I think we already have that, but now that we're gaining like this media presence, I want to hold on to that.
Exactly.
And then have the sponsors to back it. And then, I mean, ultimately take this thing full time at some point.
Let's go.
Knowing that I don't know when that will be, but like, again, I just love it. And whenever that happens, it'll happen, man.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say that's where we're going. Is there anything else that I missed, Andy?
Oh, we are not going away.
There you go. Good.
Yeah,
Good call.
That's
Good
the
call.
thing. Like we are not going
I
away.
can tell you where we're not going.
Yes. And the life of and this is something that you don't realize at first as a podcaster because it's kind of it's like your YouTube channel. What really is your value? But I look at a podcasting industry similar to stand-up comedy, similar to musicians,
Man.
where they're
Athletes.
the athletes,
artists.
There's few and far in between the elites, the top of the cream of the crop, the creme de la creme. And it takes a while to get there, and you got to catch a break. But if you stop, you'll never even see the light of the day for the potential of a break.
Bingo.
So we are going to continue to be there and try to be the best versions of ourselves that we've been preaching this whole podcast or just discussing, and everything in between. And we have so much fun doing it. So come 2020, we're going to try to fine tune a little bit so we're a little bit cleaner. We have a little bit better of a message out there so that if someone that has never seen us before understands us right away, and we feel like we don't necessarily have that right now. So there's a couple different branding things that we're trying to get done, and just the whole objective of being ourselves and enjoying every conversation is why we do it. And that's why I'm going to continue to show up at 4:30 on a Monday and then 6:30 on a Monday and talk to Ayo, who I haven't had a chance to talk to. I've heard stories about you for 5-6 years.
Hopefully good stories.
Great stories. Some stories of how we got to be better.
Oh, man, I definitely got to be better.
Yep. And then we get to, share bonding experiences for an hour, and that goes through our next guest and the guest after that. That's what's
up. No, that's tight because, like I said, line of scrimmage, I love it. Love football. But after a long day of work, it's tough to, whether you're passionate about it or not, it's tough to show up at 6 every day. Bring the energy for these kids, because obviously as a coach or as an influence to these guys, if I come in flat, they're not going to get anything out of it because they're going to be flat. So I figure with you guys too, like what if you guys came long day, right? Like boss really been riding you, right? And you come in, you're like, hey, what's up? It's the back pocket. Like, I'm having a tough day, so let's just get through this. That's a scrap. Like, that's a waste of day. You might as well stay home. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I understand that hustle that y'all got to deal with, and I commend y'all for that.
Thank you, man. I really appreciate it. I really had to dial in my day around you, to be honest.
What you mean?
I was thinking about you all day.
Oh, wow. That's really weird. That's really, really weird.
Well, it was like.
But I'm flattered.
I knew
bro.
at 4:30 I had to be dialed in and ready to roll.
Okay.
And I'm sitting at midnight getting ready for my flight from Portland to Minnesota. And, like, I could sit here and, like, oh, woe is me. Like, Decky booked the red eye. Like, he's going to get 2 hours of sleep. It's like, dude, I signed up for that shit.
I've had them days, man. I feel you.
I signed up for that shit. So it's like, okay, I'm going to leave work early at 2. I'm going to get an hour nap in. I literally went downstairs and prepped the coffee so that when I woke up in a sleepy stupor, all I had to do was hit rich brew, full cup. And so I hit that shit at 12, and then by the time you came over at 4:22, I already had a cup of coffee in me. I was ready to go. I had to like literally think that through of like how I was gonna make sure that I was ready to roll. Yeah. On like 2 hours of sleep, I'm ready to roll.
And
we crushed it.
And now you're drunk.
And now here we are.
Now I'm in an entirely different mind state.
8 hours ago, I was in Portland and sleepy. Now I'm hyped up and slapped.
Hey, there we go.
It's a beautiful thing. But that brings us to our final question here, Ayo. A simple question. What did you learn today from the moment that you woke up to when we're having this conversation?
The moment I woke up to the moment I had this conversation, that's a tough one. And I know we ain't got time because Lurch is looking at me over here. That's your nickname, by the way, from now on.
Lurch.
Yeah.
Lurch.
I'm going to see you on the stream like, yo, Lurch. And if you don't say you rang,
might take
I'm
me
not
a
messing
couple
with
minutes to process what's going to happen.
Hey, yo, Lurch.
Yo, rang.
What did I learn? Man, you know what? I learned, to be completely honest, 100% honest. Nothing against y'all, but like obviously as like the older group of St. Thomas guys, especially in the football program, we look at you guys as a spoiled group of kids. Not a bad way. Maybe it's because what we did, coming to a school that wasn't winning, coming to a school that was ugly, coming to a school where they didn't like us on campus like they do now, we just felt like you guys were kind of spoiled, and then you guys weren't built with the same material. You know what I mean? Like y'all was cotton. Like I'm velvet. You know what I mean? That's what we kind of thought it. Both of you guys are freaking awesome. And if you guys are a microcosm of what the rest of the guys in your class are, I learned that, Caruso's doing a damn good job at that program. And he's raising some kids that's really about their business. And like I said, I love this podcast. And I'm glad y'all had me on here. So that's what I learned.
That's phenomenal, Ayo. Thank you so much for those kind words. And that's a wrap here.
That's a wrap, baby.
Peace.
Thank you so much,
Who's taking the last one? Should I bring it home or should we just...
No, we'll
go one more round.
We'll
wrap.
For sure.
All right. Thanks, Ayo.
Thanks, fellas.